Welcome to the HU Pirate Ship Podcast. What's going on, everybody? You can find us at www.hupirateship.com. We talk about the Pirates. It's year 7, episode number 58. I'm your host, Big Riq, along with Hamptonite from the HU Pirate Ship. Hey, we had a lot of surprises against Virginia Union, man.
Definitely had some surprises against that team from Richmond. Or are they from Richmond?
I think so. Or just south of Richmond.
Yeah, Petersburg, wherever they are. Yeah.
Yep. So on this episode, we're going to review that game, the game against Virginia Union. Then we'll just go over the Big South scoreboard, especially talk about A&T. Then go over the MEAC scoreboard. Then talk about the rest of the MEAC. I mean, not the MEAC, but the HBCU football world. And then we'll preview week 2 against ODU. So yeah, let's hop into it. So Virginia Union review, we got the win. It was a little sketchy at times. I'm sure everybody, even there on the sidelines for Hampton, they were a little queasy watching that game, especially in the third quarter. But they got the win. There were some surprise additions, man. Jet Duffy, he's a Texas Tech transfer. The school kept that very quiet. Hezekiah Grimsley, he's a Virginia Tech transfer at wide receiver. And there's another transfer. They talked about him as well earlier, when he transferred, but there wasn't much on the roster. He wasn't on the roster at all. But Demetrius Stitman at linebacker, number 27. So those are some surprise additions. Those were surprising, right, man?
Oh, absolutely, man. They were definitely surprises, man. It was quite an electric atmosphere yesterday. I mean, it was something that we haven't seen since 2019. And even though I wasn't there, I was just so excited to, just to see, football back at Armstrong. And, it was a very good crowd on hand. And you can just tell both sides really, really wanted to partake in, the event.
Yep, no doubt, man. So, yeah, it looked like a good time on the screen. So, yeah, we got the win, surprise additions. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly like we always do. So the good, the best thing, man, or one of the most interesting thing was that those blue uniforms, those were sweet, man. They look really good on the team. So that was a good look. Next, 369 yards total rushing. For that effort, part of his effort, at least, was Elijah Burris. He won Big South Freshman of the Week. He had 15 carries, 137 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's amazing. He averaged 9.1 yards per carry. So he's big. He looks bigger than what he shows up on the roster. But I guess he's over 200 pounds, so he wears it well. We also have Butts. He stepped up big. He looked really good. He had 11 carries, 146 yards. He had a 85-yard run right up the gut to kind of set things off as well. And then Will Robinson. So if all the Pirate fans remember him a couple years ago, he was like he carried the rock a couple years ago, but then I think he had an ACL injury. So he's back. He had 12 carries for 62 yards. And he averaged 5.2 yards per carry. So, yeah, the running game was looked really good this week. We had 611 total yards of offense. The passing game looked good for the most part, but there was some drops, some things. We'll talk about those later. Some timing issues which can get worked out. The defense limited Virginia Union to 85 yards rushing. And Caleb Brown for the defense, he had 2 interceptions, and he was named Big South Player of the Week on the defensive side. And then just somebody who just kind of showed up when you're watching the game was Kashawn Moore. So he's a transfer as well. and he's very active at linebacker. He played linebacker end, so he was really active out there. He looks the part. And then the wide receiver core as well. They're legit. The wide receivers all across. I mean, they have four really good wide receivers in Bonds, Catlett, Grimsley, and number 11, the newcomer as well. Have to get his name, but the wide receiver core is legit. And we got tight ends who we haven't folded into the game as well. So the offense is pretty good. What do you think about that, man?
No. I think you pretty much hit everything on the head. We definitely knew. I mean, Hampton was definitely playing that media blackout with Duffy and Grimsley, but some people like me and you and a couple other guys, I won't call their names out, but I mean, we knew about Duffy.
Right.
And but hey, that CIA stuff that they were doing was off the hook, man. And it was I would say like this 24 for 35 for the game. That was pretty. It was pretty, it was pretty efficient game, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 bad picks. And, I would think that was pretty efficient for him. But, to me, the hats off goes to definitely that young stud that we got out there, Elijah Burris, man. He's a freshman, and it was in, I mean, we're talking about him because he's a freshman, but we already knew what Butts was going to do. Darren Butts with 11 attempts and 146 yards, and his longest was an 85-yarder. That was amazing. And then it's the wild thing. He has such a low center of gravity that I thought that he was already down when that play, that 85-yarder, that he ran. I thought he was down like multiple times. But then there was a couple other like sweeps that I saw that, he could have easily been down, but his just low center of gravity is just amazing. And he's definitely definitely a great pickup, for this program. Even though he's been here for, I think this would be his second season with us. And I do remember that. I think that Alabama State had picked him up. Don Eli wanted him so bad, and I think it was either Norfolk State or Alabama State, and I think we swooped in. So I'm glad that we picked him up. But Burris, Lord have mercy. I'm glad UNC did not take him. And plus, even if he would be at UNC right now, he wouldn't be happy because they got beat by Virginia Tech. So absolutely. So, 15 rushes for Elijah Burris. And 137 yards, and he had a really good kickoff return too. So, and then we're not gonna forget about Will Robinson. Will Robinson has always been steady Eddie with us, man. 12 rushes, 62 yards. And he gets us those hard yards. You know what I'm saying? We need a good 3 or 4 when the line is stacked. He is a trusty guy. And I really appreciate that guy. And then now if we talk about those guys right there are guys that we know about. And I will say, you did say mention it earlier, those blue uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny when they first unveiled it, I just kind of looked at it like, I don't know, we've done those blue type of uniforms before. They weren't really that nice. But I like the fact that they got the numbers on the side and it kind of has an old school feel to it, but it's yet sleek. So I can only imagine what the white ones look like. So, I really like that ensemble that they came out with. And I would just say that, 611 total yards in offense was amazing. That was really good. Also, Keyshawn Moore, man, Lord have mercy. That brother right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's number 15, I believe, right?
That's right.
Yeah, he is flying all over the field that day, all over the field. He made his presence known, along with the defensive line when it came to that running game. They were really Andy Matthews, number 67. That he's the plug for real. They might as well just call that brother the plug because you ain't running through that dude.
Right.
So I mean, we had some really good guys on that line that that stopping in that run. And you are right, the wide receiver core is definitely legit. Of course, we know about Bonds, and to be honest, when I saw the way that they were going after Bonds, he they constantly had a safety, on top of him. Even though he did get behind the safeties multiple times, they had some. If he cut in, they had a linebacker or another DB in there waiting on him. So he opened up a lot of avenues and for the other receivers, especially Roman Copeland, the freshman,
Yeah.
and Catlett. He definitely did that. So I expect Bonds to get more touches. I mean, he did get a lot of passes thrown his way. It's just that I think that the defense just I think Virginia Union felt like they did a great job trying to contain Bonds, even though he did score on them, but they did not want to give up the big play. And honestly, they actually failed at that too, because Bonds did drop a very wide open pass, and I think Duffy overthrew another one where he had about 2 to 3 steps on him. So that is the good, and so we need to go to the bad.
Yeah, there's some things. I guess it was what everyone kept saying: 600 days of rust. So there's some bad to be expected, but certain things you don't expect to show up when there's this kind of talent gap and preparation gap. But the defense gave up 310 yards passing and 3 touchdowns to the Virginia Union passing game. As we mentioned before, there were a couple drops by our receivers. One thing that I guess you can work on is the pass rush. So it looks like the guys were rushing in mud, like they didn't get a lot of pressure. And I didn't see a lot of blitzing, so maybe coach is just holding that back. You don't want to waste that. It's almost like a scrimmage where you just want to see what the guys can do without a lot of help. But there wasn't a lot there from a pass rush perspective. And then the kicking game, man, they averaged, our kickers averaged 28 yards per punt. And then we were 4 or 5 for point after touchdowns. And another one was close. And the funny thing about the one that was close, man, the bar was crooked. Like, because when they had the camera just sitting there watching, like you could tell it was like off, like it was a couple degrees, like tilted to one side. So maybe that's why they thought it was off. So there's a whole lot more. I know you have some more thoughts, Hampton, but that's what I noted that was not fun to watch from this game.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I felt that maybe the ops weren't the operation staff basically weren't on their game there. But hey, look, mistakes happen. It's been a 2-year layoff, so so we get it. I definitely felt that that we seem to not lack or have a pass rush. We have a good run stopping contingent, but I kind of felt that pass rush wasn't there. And it's the first game; they have time to figure that out, but we didn't see that much of it. Also, the defense did give up 310 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, and some of these. And this is my thing is when it comes to continuity with the defensive backs, I know it's very difficult, but we were seeing, I looked at it like this. The route combinations that we saw from Virginia Union, whenever we ran certain zones, it felt like they always had a guy that either got open on the sideline, something on the sideline, or they ran a guy out in the flat. And I think we were always a little bit too slow to getting there. And I just felt that their route combinations against our defense, our defensive backs were very successful. So this is why I feel that that is probably the point of interest for next week, that we have to figure out how to slow down the passing attack, especially from a team like Old Dominion. Also, the defensive backs wouldn't have to work that hard if we had I would say, a pretty good pass rush.
Yes.
And as far as the kicking game, we did notice that number 21 wasn't out there. So, I mean, I don't know the dynamics of that. I saw that he was He was fielding the punts. I mean, fielding the kicks. I guess the holder. But some of the kicks were either a little bit too low. But hey, we did get 4 out of 5 point after attempts, and the ones that were missed were blocked. So it's just I would say some things I wouldn't call minor or major, but things that are points of interest are definitely the pass rush, because if you get that, then our defensive backs are not working, I would say overboard when it comes to that, to defending. Um and the kick, well, I will give the kicking game, more time just to see how that develops.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. They'll work on that. So some procedural things that can definitely be cleaned up. So now on to the ugly. It's not every week where we have ugly, but this week we had some ugly. So you say, hey, we won the game. But I mean, if you really know football, for especially in the third quarter, this game, well, between the second and third quarter, it was not an easy watch from a Pirates fan's perspective. And I know if I'm a coach and I'm watching that game, I'm getting a little nervous too. But um, we're better. The team is better than Virginia Union. Like, it shouldn't have been that close. From a talent perspective, it should have been. They should have handled them. It shouldn't have been that close. And once they got things righted in the fourth quarter, ran away. So first quarter, fourth quarter, that's indicative of the gap between the two schools. In between, maybe the team just fell apart. I'm not sure what happened, but just from the folks I know watching this game were shaking their heads like, what is going on here, man? So just the closeness and some of the things we saw in the second and third quarter made it a little bit hard to watch, man. What are your thoughts on that, Hamptonite?
Well, let me go ahead and just kind of interject this, because my brother is calling me to tell me that he's telling me that Michael K. Williams, Omar from The Wire, is just found dead in the apartment.
Yeah, I just saw that, man.
Yeah, I just saw that. So, brother, I'm doing the podcast right now, so he just hung up. So, you're absolutely right there. And matter of fact, let me just go ahead and say rest in health, Michael K. You're a beautiful human being, and that whole thing is just, oh, Lord have mercy. Some brilliant people are just gone much too quick. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Michael K. and Robin Williams, just beautiful people.
It's a tough time with that right now. I mean, we could pivot, but it's just a lot of sadness in the air right now. It's a tough time, man.
It's just too tough, man.
Still in the middle of a pandemic too.
And then you got the unfortunates out there. We ain't in no pandemic.
Oh God, man.
I was at a cookout yesterday, and his brother out here talk about, I'm not going into that, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're talking
about. That.
Yeah.
So it's just like, dude, it's just like, this is real, man. But anyway, let's go back to the ugly. I felt when our team went up those 2 scores, 13-0. It felt like we were on, like, ready to I think had we went up 3 scores, then we could have sealed the coffin on that game. And I felt that the first score was a methodical long drive that culminated with Jadakiss Bond's slant touchdown. And that just felt powerful. And because it was a mixture of running, it was a mixture of passing, and we did exactly what we wanted to do. We ran the ball effectively, and then and we controlled the line of scrimmage the first drive. And then we had that slant pass in, to the man that they wanted to stop. And it felt powerful. Mm-hmm. Second drive, Butts came in there, and he had that the 85 yarder, and it just felt like we got him. And I think did we throw the pick on our next drive that allowed them to come back? But whatever it was, Virginia Union's poise never went away. Like, they knew, they were like, okay, all right, you got your 2 scores. We're going to come back, watch. and their ability to not only tie up the game, but to take the lead and lead into halftime, to me felt that this is a program that's not afraid of they're not afraid of of a bigger program. They weren't intimidated by a Division I program. They probably felt themselves that they should be in a Division I program. And I felt that at certain points in the game that it was like it could have gone either way. It was because it was back to back 28-21,
Yeah,
28 all.
too close.
And too close. And then, but as I think about it, I look at like games like Alabama State and Miles. It's a similar situation. Alabama State has superior facilities, has really legit Division I prospects. They have put men in the pros in the past 5 years, won a first rounder with Titus Howard, and they're still having trouble with Miles, a Division II program. So a lot of it to me just feels that it was more about pride. And, Virginia Union comes into this game like this is their Super Bowl. And I think Hampton, I'm glad this was the first game that Hampton played, because the last time we played Union, it was our second game, and we felt that they did not take this game. They took this game lightly, and in that Union wanted it more. But anyway, I just felt that at certain points in the game, it just felt like, man, deja vu all over again. And luckily, we went back to what we are our bread and butter, which is running the ball. And we basically controlled the line of scrimmage, I would say, for the second half of the game. Well, I'm not going to say for all the second half of the game, mainly the fourth quarter. But these are the type of games that, we have to win. We can't lose this game. So that was ugly for me.
Yeah, and it just, there's one thing I remember many, many years ago, a coach told me about momentum, even, and especially in the college game. And he said there's an underrated thing that can change games. And he said big touchdown drops. And when Jadakiss had that drop early on in the first quarter, I was like, uh-oh. Like those things can change or equalize, or it just changes the flow of the games, gives the other team hope. It's a little bit deflating. So those things have effects on games. When I saw that, I was like, uh-oh, this might be a little bit close for comfort, even though we pulled away. But I just never forget, that coach told me that a couple of years ago. So, but the good part is that we got to win. So yeah, it'd be worse if we lost.
Oh my God. Yeah. If you lose this game a second time, that's just something you can't come back from. I remember when Pete Adrian was the Norfolk State coach, and he lost. I think his first couple of years at Norfolk State, he lost to Virginia State. I forgot the name of that classic, and those are bad losses, and it took a lot of morale out of the Norfolk State program for a while. But once they were able to overcome losing to a D2 school, then it was smooth sailing on from there. And then he ended up winning the MEAC after a while.
Yep, true indeed. So yeah, man. So we got the win. So that's the good news. So all right, let's move on over to the Big South scoreboard. So couple interesting games here. Kennesaw State, they beat Reinhardt 35-25. It wasn't that close watching it. I don't know what Kennesaw State was doing, but it wasn't that close if you watched the game. I watched some of it. Up next, North Carolina A&T lost to Furman 29-18. Now I watched almost this entire game. A&T's good. I mean, they are still good. They're talented, but what tripped them up in this game was what Hamptonite and I said in the last podcast about what's going to keep them from winning the Big South. Turnovers, penalties, special teams, poor execution. And there's no margin for error when you play good teams like this. So A&T fans, when you play Kennesaw State, when you play Monmouth, heck, even Charleston Southern, I would even say throw Campbell in there. This is what you're going to see. So you can't have that nonsense. So y'all got to strip all that out. I guess that can be coached up. But this is what is going to happen when you play the larger teams. An underrated thing that I saw as well was the referees. So A&T didn't get a lot of help from them either. And this is what you're going to see on the road in the Big South. At home, the refs are fair. I don't, I think we had a good game called, but when you go on the road, it's going to be ugly. So what you saw against Furman, this is what you're going to see against the other big schools in the Big South. And to win, all that nonsense got to be cleaned up, man. I mean, this is what we said, right, Hamptonite?
Absolutely. It's just that I think that a lot of because we get a lot of this from the MEAC fans, when they talk about playing, I would say predominantly PWI institutions, is that, HBCU games are mainly emotion. How you feel in the moment, especially on the field. It's like it's all about, once that emotion starts running, then the momentum comes, and it's a back and forth type of game. Whereas I feel that, when we play, watching, the Aggies take on the Paladins at Furman, I felt that certain things that you see that resonated with me. It was like certain things like, okay, like, so if you have a cornerback who I would say has trouble defending, I would say the 6-yard in or the out route, they definitely figure out ways to exploit it. They go after certain players, and it's not mainly based on emotion. It's more based upon, I would say, I'm not going to say schematics, because it's all about X's and O's on both sides. But I think it's more of like almost like a science there. And I think for A&T, they didn't look like, they basically thought that their speed and power was just enough to overcome, just a program like Furman. And honestly, it's like they have power. They might not have that speed, but they have ways of attacking it. And I just think that this takes some time for A&T for them to figure it out. And, I'm glad that they got it early, because now you see what we're going to be dealing with, more so what they are going to be dealing with on a regular basis. So, but as far as the other Big South programs that we did see, nothing is surprising. It is a little bit surprising to see that Kennesaw gave up 25 to Reinhardt, and so that means that they're going to have some issues. But if you look at Gardner Webb put up 25 on Georgia Southern.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Southern, that's a good program. So this is something that we're definitely nervous because we're definitely going to be playing Gardner Webb. So there are some things that I think that we need to that I see that is cause for concern in the Big South. But who knows? It's still a young season.
Yep, very young, very young. So yeah, but and also we didn't see much of the running back for A&T as well in that Furman game. So hopefully everything.
No. We saw him. He just didn't do much.
Yeah, he didn't do much.
No, he just didn't do much. Yeah. So Mr. Icy, Mr. Outfit, looking like Cam Newton at the press conference. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't be dressed like that and not produce, son.
Right. Right. So yeah, that's it, man. In the Big South, man. I'm sure A&T will get it together. I'm gonna watch. We're gonna watch them close to see how they progress this year and tightening things up because they got the talent. So let's move on to the MEAC scoreboard. So Central, they beat Alcorn State in that opener. Did we talk about that last week? I don't think so. But they beat Alcorn State. That was a shocker to even probably North Carolina Central. Let's see any other interesting games here in the MEAC. I guess Alabama A&M beating South Carolina State. Good old Maynard doing his thing, especially with Aquil Glass. He was 28 for 49, 426 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's pretty much it, man. Richmond, Howard played them close a little bit, early on. They were doing a couple things, but then that fell apart. But I don't see much else in the MEAC this week to go over. Any thoughts, man, on the MEAC?
Absolutely not. I
No.
mean, yeah,
Okay.
I mean, only thing I can say is shout out to Alabama A&M. I mean, Connell Maynard and Quill Glass, man. Like those dudes are balling, but they got to figure out that defense, man.
Yep.
Granville Eastman, man. Oh God, come on, man. I mean, but yeah, nothing.
Yep. Nothing. And move on to some other HBCU football notes. So, of course, everyone's talking about Jackson State, Florida A&M. Hey, quick thought, man. The newcomers to the HBCU world, they have all these ideas that we've been hashing around for like the past 20 years. So, the latest one from Dion is that MEAC and SWAC need to form a super conference. What do you think about that, man? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Dion, I mean, I doubt that he would hear this, but let me just keep it real with you, my brother. I mean, me and Riq, our families go back what? I mean,
Mine
I
goes
believe
back a
those,
hundred years. 100 years.
yeah, mine goes back 100 years in this. I mean, I have great grandparents, great grandparents, who were at Talladega, and Johnson C. Smith and, all of these Tennessee State, Morris Brown. I mean, all of these Fisk, this is culture, man. And I'm sure you probably got some in your family somewhere too. But I mean, we take this is like culture. It's like when you say stuff like that, we know it's from an outside perspective. The reason why you can't combine the MEAC and the SWAC because there's two culturally different ideas when it comes to this. I mean, MEAC is mid-Atlantic. The culture from the mid-Atlantic is different from the culture from the southwestern parts of the United States. Let me put it to you this way. There's Martin and then there's Malcolm. Martin was the talker. No, I'm sorry. Malcolm was he was the try me. He was out there. He was like, I'm gonna show you these hands. Whereas Martin was more subtle, and Martin was like, okay, I'm gonna make it work from a different framework. And both achieved exactly what they wanted, just differently. So that's what the MEAC and the SWAC is. You know what I mean? So when we say about combining it to make a super conference, no, I mean, the MEAC is going to be fine. I mean, we did lose FAMU and Bethune, and of course, us in A&T, but each of those programs that left had to leave because those programs have different missions. They weren't a part of the charter. If we look at A&T and Hampton, those are, I would say, progressive programs, that can fit in any circle. So we, at one point, didn't fit the MEAC brand the way that the MEAC wanted it to fit. And same way with A&T, those are, they are a progressive program. And then and FAMU and Bethune is their family program. So they fit the SWAC profile. So that's why I would say kind of stay in your lane on that, my brother. I get it. I'm happy you here, but and I understand you want to change the narrative and use what God has given you to shine on Jackson State. But I mean, my thing is I'm with you. I enjoy what you're doing, but certain things have to work within a certain framework and let it be natural. So the MEAC and the SWAC joining together, no, leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I saw Tyrone Wheatley says he agreed with that up at Morgan State, and I think
He a
outside,
Michigan dude. He a Michigan dude.
right,
So
right. That's what I
hush.
was saying. Like outside, new blood is always good. Rejuvenates you, gives you some new ideas, but you also have to, like you say, you have to look within the framework and the environments that we have. Like HBCUs from a sports perspective and just from different funding perspective, yeah, we many struggle. We could all use more, but we're not like poor struggling sisters like here and brothers. Like we do amazing things, and I think we need to just remember that like everything is not about sports. You have to look at the larger universities and what they're doing and celebrate that. I mean, could we win a couple more football games? Sure. But the culture at our schools are thriving and doing quite well against the odds. And I think we just need to remember that and don't let some of these guys who aren't really familiar with how things work come and blow things up and become the face of them. So that's one thing Jackson State should guard against, is allowing
Absolutely.
Dion to become the face of their entire
Yeah.
university.
And
Jackson
just to
State's a
kind of
proud school, man. I mean, they don't they
thank
don't
you,
need they
thank
don't need
you.
him.
And just to caveat off of that, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, Jackson State is probably, I think they bring in the most research dollars out of any HBCU. I'm talking about even over us and Howard. They bring in a significant number of research dollars. And when I mean research, that means their abilities to research subjects like whether it's science, electronics or chemistry or engineering. These are these are, I would say, methods for them that go into journals, that go into public research journals or public research institutions that Jackson State does. So Jackson State had a name before Prime got there. And my whole concern for Jackson State, it was like, listen, look, I know you're happy that Prime is there, but don't let Prime take over, what the institution is about. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Prime wouldn't pull that mess at Hampton.
No.
They like wearing a gold chain on the sideline. Please, like, man, dude, that's not a good representation of what we are. I'm not saying I don't feel what Prime is doing. I like what he's doing. But at the same time, that doesn't fly with us. It don't fly at Howard. It won't fly. It definitely won't. It don't fly at FAMU, because if you look at Willie Simmons, he's shirt tucked in. I'm not trying to say you have to be a respectable Negro, but I'm just saying, like, certain things that I get it. He's colorful. Alvin Wyatt was colorful, but Alvin Wyatt, you had some sort of, I would say, modicum of respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm just saying. This is my thing. Tyrone Wheatley and Deion Sanders, y'all really ain't from the crew. I mean, you ain't in the it's like different levels to this, and you just ain't at that level just yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, and just remember, like, the folks running the schools and the conferences. I mean, we kid Dennis Thomas an awful lot, but these are smart folks. Like, people are, just remember that. We're not just muddling around here. It's like,
he is
woe
a
is
doctor.
me. Right? These are smart people.
So he very smart. So
yeah, just keep that in mind. So yeah, we'll watch the Dion show from afar, but at least they got the win from over Florida A&M 7-6. That, if you like defense, that was a good, strong, hard-hitting game. Yeah. So the defenses showed up. Quarterback play was interesting, but it was good from a defensive perspective. I saw one thing that will be interesting to watch. So assuming that Jackson State gets it together and wins a couple titles, and they butt up against that Celebration Bowl ceiling, how's that going to play out? After he wins two of them, right? What's going to happen? That's the best case scenario.
He's okay. Hold on. So you mean if he wins two Celebration Bowls, right?
Yeah. Then what next?
Oh, he ain't coming. He's out. But this is my thing. Who's going to want him now?
Right.
I mean, is this my thing? I think it's like Black HBCU coaches outside of the HBCU sphere don't move up as well as white coaches. Case in point, I think Hobson over at Alcorn, he left PWI to come coach at Alcorn, did very well at Alcorn, then went right back to Southern Miss. And you won't see, Pete Richardson never got the call up, Joe Taylor did get the call up, but didn't take it. Mm-hmm. It's very hard for HBCU coaches. I'm talking about Black HBCU coaches to get that call up. You might see like the coach over at North Carolina Central. He was at the offensive coordinator at Rice, but you're not going to get we haven't seen a head coaching gig. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if they do come, then it will be, good for Dion. But, he did say that God called him to Jackson State, and I mean, I don't care if you're religious or not, but I don't know about a higher being saying you need to go to Jackson State because the Negroes are sick down there. Going, going to fix that program. Hey, but Jackson State don't need Dion. I mean, they need. This is my thing. They had coaches before him. I think Hughes and Hendricks, and of course they had Kamagi,
Hmm.
and all these guys. And they had some success with Kamagi, but they just had trouble. So the university is not in no poor or dire financial straits. So I just take aback when people say things like God called me to come here because honestly, Dion did probably I think he tried to finesse his way into Florida State. And
Yeah.
I'm like, really, man? You think they're gonna let you be a part? I mean, you did graduate from there, but I mean, I don't think they're gonna let you just get in there like that. I mean, I don't think it works like that. And uh, my thing is though, it's like I think sometimes a lot of us, we bear the brunt on certain things when it comes to our perception. You know what I mean? Like with the whole situation with Cam Newton and Mac Jones, you read all these like, oh, I just read something that said that Rob Ninkovich said that Mac Jones showed Cam Newton how to read the playbook. It's always that underlying theme of like, oh, he's unintelligent. But Cam Newton's won a national title, Rookie of the Year, multiple Pro Bowler, took a team to Super Bowl, MVP. I'm sure he's smart enough to figure that out. But at the same time, though, it's like we all protect Cam Newton in that way. Like, even though private, we like, man, we want to slap him upside his head. But he's our guy. It's like we got to protect him because we know how the outside world could feel. It could feel. And so, yeah, I am. If God said Dion to Jackson State, then yeah, I'm probably happy because you could get away with some of the stuff here that he's doing here at Jackson State because we get it, we understand it. But if you pull in that some of that stuff over at FSU, then it's some of the, I would say, the coded language that we would hear, from outside, and influence, outside voices. And it's just like, how do you combat that?
No,
How do
I,
you?
I I guarantee you, if he pulled that stuff in Florida State, it wouldn't be coded.
It
There,
was,
there won't be
yes,
no coded language. They were like, "Yo, get this Negro out of here right now! Get him out of here." There would be no codes on
yeah,
that
just
language.
just like when we watched Willie Taggart. It's like I remember, I think he lost his like a really bad game, and I saw all of these memes from my brother that people were sending, and it's like people were sending like almost lynching parties where that N-word Willie,
Mm.
and I'm just sitting here like, oh man. And so then, it's like you got to put up with this stuff. I mean, that's part of coaching, but at the same time, you're just like, oh, why do I have to do? Why do? And but that's the thing. If Dion, went out there, and I'm not saying he's behaving that way because he behaved, and it's like I'm not talking about he's like a child, but certain things that I think like he is like we haven't seen an HBCU coach like this. Shine Wyatt, Alvin Wyatt, similar. He dressed nicely. He dressed like he was like that old man in the club, though. But you had a certain level of respect for what he was saying and what he was doing. I think with Dion, it's just like you still have it, but it's different. It's kind of like it's just different. And for some of us, we just don't know how to take it. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I think if the best case scenario for him and them is they continue to win, and with the talent, I mean, he's bringing in talent. So if all that proves itself on the field, they'll win. But they're gonna. I wonder if they're gonna run into what A&T ran into. Like they were tired of winning the
uh,
Celebration Bowl,
yeah, yeah.
and what are they going to do? That's just gonna and assuming that if he can't leave, you don't want a boxed in prime. You know
No,
what I mean? So it'll just be interesting to watch, see
yeah.
how
I'm
this how
sure. I'm
this
sure.
goes.
I'm sure someone else will call him. But I do agree. if he continues to win, like let's say multiple celebration bowls, he gonna be like, man, we need to get out of that SWAC and join something else so we can go to the playoffs. And I wouldn't blame him. I would.
Right, right. That's the best case scenario for them too, right? Now they're just gonna have to manage that. So, all right, enough of Prime, man. Any other interesting games? I'm looking down the. No, not really. We talked about them all. Oh, one
Eddie
thing I
George
did see.
lost.
Yeah, he lost. Yeah, he lost. That was a little bit shocking. But one
With
game
a
I
bunch
did.
of NFL coaches. But go ahead.
Yep. Well, we've seen that Hamptonite. Like it's a different way you have to coach FCS guys versus legit pros. Or yeah, it's different. So it's totally, you got to coach him up, love him up. Like it's different. So he'll find that out. I hope he wins too. But I did see one interesting game, parts of it. Bethune-Cookman and UTEP. Yo, they gave UTEP all they could handle. All they could handle. So I don't know if it transfers for Bethune-Cookman, but they look like they always look. Like they always look like a FBS team. But I mean, just from a optics perspective, but they play UTEP pretty strong. So that was we'll see what they can do in the SWAC.
You know what? Watch Bethune-Cookman win the SWAC first year. Everybody was looking at FAMU, but watch Bethune, like, because Bethune's sitting here saying, like, man, ain't nobody talking about us,
right? That's
you
true.
know what I mean? Like Alcorn looked weak. You know, they got. I felt like they were exposed against of Central. You know, I think I like Felix. I think he's a good, fine young man, but you know, when the lights are really too bright on him, you know, he just kind of drops that ball. But Bethune has always been strong. Bethune's issue is they're gonna give you 2 hiccups a year.
Every year.
And it's gonna be hiccups. And if they could limit them hiccups and lose to, I don't know, like a Valley State. You know, if they could not lose to Valley or to maybe Jackson, like they could win this thing. They've done this every year. They would lose one game. And it's always like, oh, dang, you know, there you go, Bethune again, because they've always had, I would say, inconsistent quarterback play. But it looks like this QB right now, man, this kid, you know, had 215 passing yards. And I'm just like 2 touchdowns, you know, 15 for 22, and I'm just like, all right, Bethune looks pretty good. So
yeah, they look very good. So yeah, y'all better watch them out there in the SWAC. So. All right, man, let's close it up with the ODU preview. ODU lost their season opener to Wake Forest 42-10. I caught a little bit of this game. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just hoping that Hampton just can move the ball. They should be able to, but it'll come down to the offensive lineman. Because one thing a former lineman myself, right? Like you pointed out in the last podcast.
Former lineman.
Right? Those wide splits they got. You know, when you're going up against really athletic guys, man, you can get your butt with one-on-one. So we'll see how they handle that. It'll be a good test for them with their new scheme. But Hampton, I hope they can move the ball. They should be able to put up some points against ODU. But I think the ODU defensive line will dictate this game. That's what I think. I'm just hoping our defense can show some improvement. They're not going to stop ODU, but hopefully they can slow them down. Other than that, man, there's really not much to ODU from what I saw. They're just one of those middling FBS teams, Middle Tennessee State, where, you know, they'll be on Thursday night on ESPN and it's like, oh, football. Oh, okay. Yeah. But it's nothing there. They should beat us. They're an FBS team, but I think if we can show some real improvement, there's a lot to hang our heads on, man. And what are your thoughts on the Monarchs?
Honestly, I mean, this game I would say is definitely for, you know, the 757 area. Honestly, I do not like playing ODU. I would rather us play another program besides them. More of a program that's our speed, you know, like I don't know. See if we could bring Morgan or I don't know, or Virginia State or something, you know, or Elizabeth City State. See if they want to come back. But I'm just I don't like the optics of this game, and I never did. You know, it's like Hampton doesn't need to play FBS programs. I like staying in our lane at FCS programs because, first of all, we don't need the money. So from whoever is listening, Hampton don't do welfare checks or don't do Hampton does not take money from big programs.
And, I'll say I'm sure there's somebody in the athletic department falling out their chair, but the larger point is like, the school seems solvent. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No. We're a little bit more than solvent. No, I'm just saying, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah. I would rather play, another program that our fans, our fans are used to ODU because some of our alums have ODU graduate degrees, and we've had friends that were ODU students that transferred into Hampton. So I just, for some reason, would prefer that we play a program like Virginia State or Elizabeth City State, somebody nearby that, that we could bring in and, get more game day revenue. This is not my thing. But anyway, speaking of ODU, it looks like they are, I would say, in the process of rebuilding. And, I saw that they had two quarterbacks, that were playing. And one was DJ Mack and Hayden Wolf. And both of them, I would say, looked pretty ineffective. One did throw a touchdown, another one threw 2 picks and was sacked twice. So just by watching a little bit of that game, I just realized, okay, they are definitely rebuilding. Do I think we have a shot? Absolutely. I would say a very low no. And I think the closest we've ever gotten to beating them was when I think we had David Legree, and I think we lost by 3 points at ODU. So this will probably be a game that we'll probably lose by multiple touchdowns. Hopefully our improvement from our secondary from week 1 to week 2 will be there, and we'll be able to, at least exploit something. But I do think that ODU just probably has a little bit more horses than we do. But if you look at us, so we got Jet Duffy. That's a Texas Tech transfer, and I like some of our backup QBs, and our running game is pretty stable with Butts, Burris, Robinson, and even the kid from the Akron transfer, White. And our receiving core, I love our receiving core. So I do think there's a chance for us to be very competitive, and that we can actually very low percentage wise, we could actually eke something out, like some sort of win there. But I would just prefer, going forward, let's not schedule ODU again.
Yeah, I don't see anybody get excited when they see this guy.
No, yeah, we're not excited. I'll be excited, if I don't know. If Virginia State came in, because they'll bring their band, and it's more almost like fellowship. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like family. Whereas ODU, it's just like the neighbors across the street that you only just wave to when you're going to work, and you don't speak to them unless if you're getting something at the mail. So I just kind of look at it that way. Norfolk State is family for us. Virginia State, Virginia Union, their family. And and William and Mary, we have a good relationship with them too.
Yeah, that was my next question. Who would you rather play, William and Mary or ODU? I'd rather William and Mary.
Always William and Mary.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of playing. I do. Well, we know Hampton never plays FBS programs, but this to us is more considered like a local program that we'll play, because if ODU was like in another part of the state, we wouldn't be playing them. So it's just kind of a local thing for all of us.
Yep. So it'd be an interesting game for the folks really watching the game from in depth. Just watch the lines. The lines will dictate this entire game.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, all right, man. Good show. We'll be back next week to talk about ODU, and I think who's next after that? Norfolk State or Howard?
Oh man, we got Howard coming up, man. And you know what? Let's do this. Bison, what's the name? Bison for life. Hey, let's bring Bison for life on.
Yeah, we got to catch up, man. We have to catch up. We have to
definitely going to bring him on. Yeah.
All right, everybody, go Pirates.
Peace.